You know, every single time you hit that like button, share a post, or drop a comment, you're creating these tiny, invisible pieces of a giant puzzle. And that puzzle is social media data. But what is it, really? And what kinds of stories does it actually tell? Well, in this explainer, we're going to put it all together.
So it almost always starts with a request, something that sounds a lot like this. And when you first hear it, it seems pretty straightforward, right? A company just wants to know what people are saying about them online. But this seemingly simple request is actually one of the biggest, most complex challenges in the world of analytics. And it's going to be our roadmap as we dive into social media data.
All right, let's call this what it is. The impossible analytics request. Now, before we can even try to tackle it, think of it like baking a cake. We have to see what ingredients are actually in the kitchen. And the very first problem is that one little word right at the beginning, all.
And boom, right away, we've hit our first major hurdle. The idea of finding all the mentions of anything online is, well, it's pretty much impossible. The internet is just way too big. So here's the key takeaway. An analyst is never working with the complete picture. They're always working with a sample of the data. That's a fundamental truth we just have to accept right from the get-go.
Which brings us right to our main ingredient. So what exactly is social media data anyway?
The definition is actually surprisingly specific. We're talking about data that is generated within the walls of a platform like Facebook, X, or Instagram. This is completely different from other kinds of online data, like, say, who's visiting your website. For our purposes, we're focused only on what happens inside these social networks.
And the scale of this data, it's just hard to wrap your head around. If you think about how we've shared information throughout all of human history, from paintings on cave walls to printing books, we've now jumped into this totally new era. Our thoughts, our reactions, our connections, they're all stored in these massive, invisible digital clouds, creating this unbelievable ocean of information. Okay, but here's where it starts to get a little tricky. Not all of this data is created equal, not by a long shot. A really good analyst knows they have to stop and ask, is what I'm looking at a hard fact, a calculated guess, or something that's totally off limits and private?
Let's break that down a bit. First up, you've got factual versus estimated data. A like or a share, that's factual. It's a clear record that a specific action happened. But what about metrics like views or impressions? Well, that's estimated data. It's basically a calculated guess that someone might have seen your content as they were scrolling. Did they actually pay attention? We don't really know. Factual data is always going to be more reliable.
And then there's the huge difference between public and private data. Public data is all the stuff anyone can see. Follow accounts, public posts, comments. This is what we use for competitive analysis. But private data is the stuff only the account owner can access, like super detailed ad performance or the precise demographics of their followers. And this is exactly why part of our original impossible request, knowing the demographics for a competitor, is impossible. We can only ever estimate that stuff for other people.
And here's the cool part. All of these different types of data are generated by actions you probably take every single day. Creating a profile, posting content, liking something, leaving a comment, sharing it with a friend. Every single one of those clicks creates a data point that falls into one of these categories we just talked about.
Okay, so we've got this massive ocean of public data. But how do analysts actually get their hands on it? How do they pull it out of the social media platforms and into their own tools? Well, it turns out there are two main ways to get in.
Think of it like trying to get into a house. The first method is using the API. This is the official front door. It's a safe, structured, reliable way to ask for data that the platforms provide themselves. The second method? That's web scraping. This is like sneaking in through a side window. You're basically grabbing information straight from the website source code. It can work, for sure, but it's really fragile. If the platform changes its website code, even a little bit, your whole tool can break in an instant.
But look, just collecting all this raw data, that's only the first step. The real goal, the whole reason we do this, is turning that messy raw data into an actual insight. Because that's the whole point of this exercise, right? We're not doing analytics just to collect a bunch of numbers in a spreadsheet. We're doing it to find actionable insights, something that clearly points to a smart decision a business should make. So how do we get there? It's all about taking a vague, subjective goal and turning it into a very objective, measurable question. A question like, which brand is performing better, is kind of useless. What does better even mean? But a question like, which brand has the highest average number of interactions per post? Now that is something we can actually measure, compare, and get a real answer to.
You know, a really great analyst doesn't just dive into a pile of data and hope they find something interesting. They plan ahead.
It's a lot like how a movie director creates a detailed storyboard to visualize the entire film before they even start shooting. An analyst projects what insights they might find before the analysis even begins. And they guide this whole process with one incredibly powerful question. They can look at any post, any online conversation, and ask themselves this: what data can a person generate here? By thinking through all the possible actions, the clicks, the comments, the shares, they start to see the shape of the story before the numbers even come in.
So there you have it. We started with one impossible request. And from there, we've seen how social media data is defined, sorted, collected, and finally transformed into something meaningful. It really does all come back to the simple clicks we all make every day. So the next time you share a post, just remember, you're not just sharing something, you're casting a vote with your data. The real question is, what story are you helping to write?